Alas, justice has been served. In a shocking turn of events, Alec Baldwin killed Halyna Hutchins, the cinematographer on set of the movie Rust, with a prop gun. Now, 3 years down the line, the court just sentenced Alec Baldwin for the death of Halyna Hutchins. It's goodbye forever. But there's more. In this video, I will show you details of Alec Baldwin's case leading up to his sentencing. Let's get to court. The law decides.
Your motion to dismiss with prejudice is granted.
Emotions peaked climax in court. Alec Baldwin and his family broke down in tears as a Mexico judge dismissed the involuntary manslaughter case against him for the lethal shooting on the Rust 2021 film set. Movie producer and actor Alec Baldwin, best known for portraying Donald Trump in the sketch show Saturday Night Live, shed tears of joy as the judge read a lengthy statement detailing her reasons for the dismissal of the charges against him. He quickly took solace in the warm embrace of his teary wife, who had been with him alongside his family and friends from the onset of this trial in 2021. Alec Baldwin was charged with involuntary manslaughter for his role in the fatal incident that occurred in the 2021 Rust movie set, which led to the untimely death of cinematographer Halyna Hutchins. During a rehearsal on the set of the Western film Rust, Alec Baldwin pointed what was assumed to be a prop gun at Halyna Hutchins, the cinematographer on set, when the revolver mysteriously discharged. As a result, Hutchins was killed, and the director, Joel Souza, was badly injured. Baldwin pleaded not guilty to the charge of involuntary manslaughter labeled 18 months. However, Baldwin maintained his innocence, claiming that he pulled back the gun's hammer, not the trigger. In his defense, his lawyer explained to the court that Baldwin was handed over the prop gun with the caution that it was a cold gun, meaning it was devoid of bullets.
In this case, this unique case on a movie set, the prop gun was placed in Mr. Baldwin's hands and cold gun was announced, meaning it had been checked and double-checked by those responsible to ensure the gun was safe. It was just a prop.
He leveraged the fact that Baldwin was only doing his job as an actor, which was deeper than it appeared, to act, to choreograph, to rehearse, and to allow his body to be possessed by another character. In this case, the character is Harlan Rust, a fugitive, an outcast on the run for his life. Baldwin's lawyer explained that the circumstance in which the tragic scenario unfolded did not allow for his client to check a gun that had been declared cold. Earlier in the case, a New Mexico judge had rejected the motion by Baldwin's legal team to dismiss the criminal charge against him. As the court proceeds, Judge Mary Marlowe Summer upheld an indictment charging Alec Baldwin with involuntary manslaughter for the murder of Halyna Hutchins in 2021. The judge did not buy the defense's argument that prosecutors broke the rules of grand jury proceedings to divert attention away from evidence that would exonerate Alec Baldwin. However, prosecutors denied the allegation that questioned their work ethics. They alleged that Baldwin shamelessly attempted to escape blame. They highlighted the consistent contradictions in his statements to law enforcement, workplace safety regulators, and televised interviews. Alec Baldwin stated to the police that it was not in his place to check if the gun was loaded or not, because the armorer on set, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, was presumed to have carried out her duty effectively.
I went to lunch. She disarmed me. I sat down.
She being
Hannah, the armaments person. When she was always handling the gun.
He went on to describe how the fatal incident unfolded after lunch. He explained that Hannah gave him the same Colt he rehearsed with before lunch, on the existing notion that it was a cold gun. Unfortunately, when he engaged the gun, a tragedy took shape from there.
You're very sudden trying to sneak up on them. I take the gun out, and as I take it, as it clears, as the barrel clears, I turn and cock the gun over here. I turn and cock the gun goes off. It's supposed to be a cold gun.
All at once, police arrived at the desert range in New Mexico. They met an injured director, and Halyna Hutchins was gasping and fighting for her life. 42 years cinematographer, Halyna Hutchins, who has begun to make waves in the film industry, was immediately airlifted to a nearby hospital. Unfortunately, her life could not be saved. Baldwin's lawyer played footage in court showing the shooting scene that led to Hutchins' death. He explained that Baldwin did not intend to kill the cinematographer. He was merely playing out his role as an actor. Unfortunately, he was met with the armorer's negligence. However, the judge was completely moved by the shocking discovery that the prosecutors withheld evidence. Baldwin's lawyer told the court that the prosecutor failed to share with the court a bullet that was discovered and could be related to Hutchins' death, but was filled in a different case with a different case number. Although the prosecutor argued that the ammunition was not connected to the case and did not match bullets found on the Rust set, the judge ruled that they should have been shared with Baldwin's lawyer. The judge stated that the state deliberately withheld evidence, hammering on how the court cannot right this wrong. In that regard, the case against Baldwin was dismissed. Halyna Hutchins is remembered as an incredible artist. Before the fatal incident that led to her death, Hutchins had been working as the director of photography on the set of Rust. In 2019, Hutchins began to gain recognition when American Cinematographer magazine named her one of its rising stars, a recognition that heralded her role in the making of the superhero movie Arch Enemy in 2020. Her untimely death sent shockwaves down the spines of the family and the film industry at large. Following her death, people began to question the negligence that led to Hutchins's untimely death. Alex Fedosov, a Ukrainian filmmaker, while paying tribute to Halyna Hutchins, questioned the place of standard of safety in the movie production of Rust. He spoke bitterly about the operational failure that caused her death, while questioning how the death happened given the American standard of safety. Standards of safety in the US are very high. There is always an expert on set. There are always checks ahead of filming. Blanks are used sometimes to achieve a better effect on camera, but it is always done with high degree of safety. Fedosov's sentiment is shared by many. Director Adam Egypt Mortimer explained to the BBC the paramount role of safety in every production set. The fact that a gun went off and killed Halyna is both shocking from an industry point of view and just absolutely tragic from the point of view of knowing this amazing artist who's suddenly not with us. These views emanating from the industry regarding the breach of the standard of safety leading to Hutchins' death turned all eyes to Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, whose role on set was to ensure the said standard was upheld. On the other hand, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed had pleaded not guilty to involuntary manslaughter and evidence tampering charges. The prosecutor alleged that Hannah failed to ensure that dummy bullets were loaded into the weapon that killed Hutchins. Upon that, the armorer handed the gun to Baldwin with the assurance that it was a cold gun, whereas she failed to double-check if all the bullets were dummies.
I am sentencing you to 18 months of incarceration. I find that what you did constitutes a serious violent offense. It was committed in a physically violent manner, a fatal gunshot, done with your recklessness in the face of knowledge that your acts were reasonably likely to result in serious harm.
Hannah was found not guilty on the second charge of tampering with evidence. However, the court found her guilty on the first count of involuntary manslaughter. She was sentenced to 18 months in state prison. Judge Mary Marlowe Summer explains her reasons for sentencing Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, detailing that the armorer turned a safe weapon into a lethal one. If not, for her recklessness, Hutchins would be alive, a husband would have his wife, and a son would have his mother. Hannah remained motionless as she learned her fate. She was escorted out of the court by 2 policemen, and on her way out, she affirmed to her weeping mother, "It'll be okay, rehearsal or action." This footage shows Alec Baldwin doing a quick draw rehearsal in the movie set Rust. The gun was handed to him by the armorer, who had declared that the weapon was safe. At this point, Alec Baldwin was oblivious that a tragedy that would put his life and career on hold was about to unfold. Alec Baldwin was a co-producer and lead actor on the movie set of Rust. Following the aftermath of the shooting, Baldwin expressed utter shock at how the incident unfolded. Within splits of seconds, a movie set was turned into a crime scene. And it just happened that all along, Baldwin was rehearsing a quick draw to send his adorable cinematographer to her maker. Director Souza was wounded as a result of the incident. It appeared that while Hutchins was shot in the chest, the director was standing behind her, thereby suffering a wound on the shoulder. As a result of the shooting, he was treated in the hospital and later discharged. Early in the investigation, investigators revealed that the assistant producer on set, David Halls, had been sacked from a previous production, War Drama Freedom Path, over a gun safety violation. Unfortunately, similar negligent actions unfolded in the movie, set in which Halls is involved. Mr. Halls has acknowledged that he failed to properly check the gun the day of the shooting and accepted a plea deal in the case, avoiding prison time. Newly released footage from a police body cam shows the immediate aftermath of the shooting. Alec Baldwin appeared to be dumbfounded when the police arrived. He was visibly shaking, and he could not conceal the anxiety tattooed all over his body.
Tell me what to do. Okay. Tell me what to do.
Alec Baldwin immediately explained to the police in an interview that he did not pull the trigger, and he was equally surprised at how the gun discharged, given that it was declared a cold gun. However, forensic reports disproved Baldwin's claims. They alleged that there is no possibility that the gun could have discharged itself. The controversies around the shooting prompted a series of questions probing where and how it happened. Let me run you through it. The tragedy unfolded on the 21st of October 2021, when Alec Baldwin and other Rust crew members were shooting a scene inside a wooden structure designed to look like a church on a ranch in New Mexico. In the scene, Baldwin's character, an outlaw and fugitive who had been on the run for his his life, found refuge in the church-like structure. On arrival, he drew his gun to defend himself against the U.S. Marshals who were chasing him and finally cornered him in the church. Several eyewitnesses testified that they heard the phrase "cold gun," meaning the weapon did not contain any live ammunition and was safe to handle by Baldwin during the rehearsal. In a shocking turn of events during the rehearsal, the cold gun discharged. It was reported that the crew was setting up a tight camera framing of actor Baldwin drawing his revolver when the gun discharged. The bullet passed through cinematographer Hutchins' chest and pierced director Joel Souza's shoulder. Shockingly, after the shooting, 5 additional live rounds were discovered on the set. While some were found in the gun belt handled by Alec Baldwin, some were on the cart where the crew kept props. The fatal accident raised questions on whether or not safety measures were applied during the production. Following the incident, local safety officials reported safety failures on the set and immediately fined the producers the maximum penalty of $140,000. Apparently, investigators revealed that a day before the shooting, some members of the camera crew quit the production over working conditions, including safety concerns. Early in the investigation, Lane Looper, a member of the camera crew, cited safety concerns as the sole reason for his resignation. He mentioned that the production had recorded 2 accidental discharges of weapons that were loaded with blank rounds, and safety meetings were not held to address such mistakes. Looper asserted that during gunfight scenes, things are often played very fast and loose, so he feared that without adequate safety measures, tragedy was sure to unfold in the process. His resignation was premised on this background. Co-producer Alec Baldwin refuted these claims by getting about 24 cast and crew members to add their signatures to a letter he shared on his Instagram. The letter reads, "The descriptions of Rust as a chaotic, dangerous, and exploitative workplace are false." This move did not yield much result for Baldwin, as the New Mexico Health and Safety Bureau found the production company wanting by demonstrating plain indifference to the recognized hazards associated with the use of firearms on set. This discovery prompted the Bureau to fine the company almost $140,000 in damages. The production objected, but settled for $100,000. To be honest, I don't know for a fact if there are definite regulations on the use of firearms across the movie industry. However, AP News reported that the United States Federal Workplace Safety Agency doesn't regulate gun use and safety on set, and most states leave the film industry to create and follow their own rules. A professor from Chapman University in California, who specializes in on-set regulations, Dan Leonard told BBC that it is generally left to the industry to develop safety regulations and guidelines, which, if followed, can allow for firearms to be used safely on sets. However, the closest to a list of suggested rules and regulations for on-set use of firearms was published by the industry-wide Labor Management Safety Committee. Its regulations include anyone involved in using a firearm must be thoroughly briefed at an on-set safety meeting, and any actor who is required to stand near the line of fire should be allowed to witness the loading of the firearms. I don't want to push any blame, but I don't think these regulations were observed on the Rust movie set. However, the committee outrightly stated that the guidelines are not binding rules, and a thorough investigation shows that the document in which these rules are stated was last revised in 2003. Safe to say, the rules are archaic. While the investigation was building to its peak, Baldwin was met with the news of Helena Hutchins' death. The investigators dropped the news on Alec Baldwin like a hot soup, not minding the effect it would incur on the actor.
I do have some very unfortunate news to tell you.
What?
She didn't make it. Yeah.
They also told him about director Joel, who was still in the hospital at the time. Fortunately, he was doing great. On seeing Baldwin's reaction, the investigators realized that he was having a hard time processing the unfortunate news resulting from his actions. They asked him how they could be of help to him. However, Alec Baldwin remained motionless, with his mouth buried in his hands. Those moments must have been the most terrible for the veteran actor. This footage captures Alec Baldwin speaking publicly. For the first time since the shooting on the movie set, Baldwin was driving alongside his wife when he pulled over to answer reporters seeking to know the situation report about the fatal incident. Baldwin explained to reporters that Hutchins was his friend and he does not have any motive for killing her.
She was my friend. She was my friend. The day I arrived in Santa Fe to start shooting, I took her to dinner.
He explained that the police had ordered him not to discuss the ongoing investigation with anyone. However, he explained to the reporters who followed him and his family in the state of Vermont that the crew was happy before the unfortunate event unfolded. In the exchange with reporters, the lead actor and co-producer explained that he would be in favor of limiting the future use of firearms in film productions to ensure people's safety. Baldwin detailed that the tragic incident was a 1 in a trillion episode, meaning accidents of this nature rarely happen during productions. How did we get here? With the charges against Alec Baldwin dismissed by the court, all blame for the fatal death of cinematographer Hutchins has been shifted onto Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, the armorer whose job was to ensure the on-set safety use of firearms. Court investigation proved that Hannah Gutierrez-Reed exhibited a high degree of recklessness and negligence on set, leading to the tragic incidents that unfolded during the production. Hannah was convicted by a jury on the charge of involuntary manslaughter for bringing live ammunition onto the set of Rust, knowing full well that it was prohibited, and for averting gun safety regulations. Hannah Gutierrez-Reed is being held in a county jail on the outskirts of Santa Fe. Hannah's plea for a reduced sentence was rejected by the court. She told the court that she did her best on the set and that she was not a monster, as people had painted her to be.
The jury has found me in part at fault for this god-awful tragedy, but that doesn't make me a monster. That makes me human.
After she told the court that her best was not enough on the set because she did not have the proper time, resources, and staffing to carry out her duty effectively. The deceased mother's statement filled the courtroom with heightened emotions when it was read by Los Angeles-based attorney Gloria Allred.
After this tragedy, my life has been split into two, before and after. Time does not heal. It simply prolongs my pain and suffering.
Hutchins' mother sounds desperate for justice to be served for anyone responsible for the fatal death of her daughter to pay under the leash of the law. What you should know, however, is that Hannah's sentencing was prompted by a series of testimonies detailing her recklessness in the series of events leading to Hutchins' death. It appeared that Hannah might have been using drugs and cocaine during the production. An employee on the movie set took the stand and testified that Hannah Gutierrez gave her drugs in the hotel during the period of the shoot. However, the sheriff's department did not recover drugs in their search for evidence following the aftermath of the fatal incident. More so, the crew and cast were not tested for drugs before the investigation started. In this regard, after several wrangling by attorneys on the relevance of certain evidence such as text messages to the case, the court resolved to admit Hannah's private text messages as evidence in court. In the texts, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed alluded to drug use during her off hours while the production was still ongoing.
Can you read it for us?
The content?
Yes.
Yes, it's LOL. I don't need that tonight anyways. Right on. I might go smoke in the jacuzzi soon, but maybe not. I'm so pooped.
This exchange was revealed to have taken place a night before the incident, which means that Hannah, who was saddled with a sensitive responsibility, might have been under the influence of drugs. To be honest, this may have been a normal occurrence in most movie sets, but in this particular one, the result is the tragic death of a rising star, a mother, and a wife. That makes this display of recklessness a spectacle to be addressed under the law. The private text messages from Hannah's phone revealed several instances where Hannah had indulged in drug use during the production. Despite her attorney's objections against the relevance of the private text messages, the judge regarded them as admissible before the law. It was also reported that Hannah Gutierrez-Reed was almost always high on the scene and did not provide much attention to her service. Gutierrez-Reed's attorney, Todd Bullion, argued Wednesday the state had no evidence to show that Gutierrez-Reed was impaired on the set. He said disclosures about drug use could be prejudicial to the jury and was an overreach by prosecutors. Judge Mary Marlowe Summer decided that a few of the text messages and allegations of live ammunition in the hotel room could be introduced to the jury. However, the judge did express some doubt that the state had enough evidence to connect the alleged drug use to any occurrence on set. Before working on the Rust movie set, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed had previously worked on 7 other movies, including when she was a student in training. Rust is the second major production she has worked on. The Old Way, which featured Nicolas Cage and was shot in Montana, was her first.
There are really 3 choices for sentencing before me. What the defense wants is a conditional discharge. This means straight probation.
The judge spread across to the defense a panorama of 3 choices for sentencing. The judge explained that Hannah opted for a conditional discharge, which means that unless Hannah violates her terms of probation, she won't have a felony conviction on her record. This entails that Hannah Gutierrez-Reed will continue to handle firearms, which seems like a fair deal. At the end of the day, justice was served. Hannah Gutierrez-Reed was sentenced to 18 months in jail, but that cannot pay for the life lost. However, before the eyes of the law, someone has been held responsible for the untimely death of another. If you loved this video, click on the card showing on your screen right now for more videos.